We've decided to report to you tonight from East Africa because the famine emergency here is taking on historic proportions. Tonight, the United Nations says 3.7 million people face starvation, and the U.S. government estimates that 29,000 children under the age of 5 have died in the last 90 days. This is the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya, where 400,000 Somalis have taken refuge, and 1,500 more throw themselves on the mercy of the camp every day. These are the new arrivals. You know them by the faces dusted with the desert and by the eyes that have seen too much. Medina Ali was one of those waiting to be admitted to the camp. She sat with the quiet resignation of a woman who had fought to save her children in an unforgiving land. How long were you walking?
17 days.
And how many children do you have with you?
4 children.
4 children. Did all of your children survive the journey?
One boy died on the way.
The Somalis are farmers and ranchers who tried to hang on after 1 year without rain, then 2 and 3. Now the land is pale and the livestock have fallen. There's no help at home. Somalia hasn't had a stable government in decades, and much of it is run by a brutal militia called Al-Shabaab. To trace the path of the refugees, we drove north today with the UN to the border. There, we got the help of a local militia to take us into the country. That's it. That's the border. We've just crossed from Kenya into the failed state of Somalia, and this is essentially no man's land. This is the southern part of the country where Al-Shabaab has held sway for a long time. But now this local militia has taken over this small part of the country, and they're providing cover for the humanitarian relief efforts that are just beginning to penetrate Somalia. 6 days ago, the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, set up this emergency feeding station in the Somali town of Dubli. Layla Abrar with UNICEF was our guide.
They come in groups from these villages, and so they kind of help each other along the way. But by the time they get to a place like Doble, which is a transition village, or they come to the camps in Dadaab, they are barely alive.
This is Medina, who told us that she walked 3 months before she reached this place yesterday. Did all of your children survive?
2 children died on the way.
How old were the children?
One was 8 years old and one was 9 years old.
Where did you have to leave them?
We left them exactly where they died because we didn't have the strength to carry them, and we didn't have the strength to bury them.
Sarur Dabo walked in with her 1.5-year-old granddaughter. UNICEF's Malid Warfa showed us how they use this tape to diagnose malnutrition. Anything in the red is life-threatening.
She went beyond the green, and she went beyond the yellow, and she even went far beyond the red, and she's there.
9.6 centimeters, 10 centimeters or so smaller than she should be.
Severely malnourished, needs specialized treatment. You can see her eyes are already whitish, see her lips are dry. It's really a severe situation that we see everywhere in Somalia. No, she's already starving, but she's in the brink of dying, actually.
Tonight, the United Nations says the number of acutely malnourished children, like the one you just saw, comes to 340,000. Late today, the White House announced the United States will send another $105 million in emergency relief.